everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I started my One Piece journey probably towards the end of last year, and you've seen me talk a bit about it during my trading card openings. But I have recently finished Eni's lobby, so I went through all of the Water 7 up to Eni's lobby, and I want to talk about it. So here we are. So the first saga is East Blue, which includes the arcs Romance Dawn, Orange Town, Syrup Village, Barati. I'm saying it very Australian. Along Park and Town. And honestly, it feels like a lifetime ago since I did watch that, even though it was only a few months ago. The very first part of this arc is Romance Dawn, as I said. And this is where I guess it sets the premise of One Piece and what it's all about. And it's where we also get to meet Zoro and Luffy, obviously, but it's where we get to meet Zoro. I'm going to go through really briefly because this premise is everywhere. You can look it up if you want to. Orange Town is where Luffy and Zoro meet Nami, and that's when they team up to take down Buggy. Then we head off to Syrup Village, which is where we're introduced to Usopp and his hometown. Then we have Barati. We'll say Barati. Barati is when Nami, Usopp, Zoro, and Luffy, or already joining up this crew, head off to a famous restaurant in the East Blue, and it's where we're introduced to Sanji, who we find out is an absolute woman-crazed man. He is a funny character. Then in Along Park, it's where the whole crew heads off to try and rescue Nami from Along. And then Town is just like the final little piece before they head off into the Grand Line. And that's the famous scene where we see all of them put their feet on the barrel and just discuss their goals and why they are going on this journey. There were definitely times during the saga that were a bit of a slog to get through. And I think because of, obviously going back to the animation, it's very old style animation, even though it was actually still pretty good. I enjoyed it, but it was old style. It was just introducing the crew members, and Along Park wasn't that, I didn't really connect to it that much. But I'd say probably a few of my favorite moments would be when Zoro and Luffy meet, because it was just the funniest interaction. And it kind of set the premise of how Zoro is as a person.
賞金稼ぎって言われてるんだから。
世間がどう言おうと勝手だが、俺は後悔するようなことはやっちゃいねえ。何が何でも生き延びて、俺は俺のやりたいことを成し遂げる。
And another one of my favorite parts, which is very random, and I can acknowledge that it's very random, is when Luffy and Zoro end up getting lost in Syrup Village. This would have to be one of my favorite moments because it was the moment that I realized how funny this anime was. Going back to when I first was introduced to One Piece when I was really young, I wasn't that interested. I saw it come on TV and I just thought this is a very kiddish show, or it just didn't interest me, even though I absolutely loved pirates, and my favorite movie is Pirates of the Caribbean, and it always has been. So I don't know why I just didn't give it a chance. But actually watching it now and seeing the humor, how funny it is, how deep it is, and it really made me realize I really wish I watched it back then. I have to watch this scene again because I haven't seen it in a while and it still cracks me up.
2人とも落ちるより1人でも助かった方がいいじゃない。
じゃあお前が落ちろ。
大体ただ北とか北じゃないとかそういうので分かるわけねえだろうな。お前。
That scene cracks me up. Another one of my favorite scenes from that saga would be when Luffy puts his straw hat on Nami's head, and I think this was probably that last scene with Zoro and Luffy is when I was like, wow, this is really funny. But then this scene with Nami and Luffy was like, wow, this anime is actually very emotional, and it pulled at my heartstrings. And I think that's when I started to get attached to the show. And the scene is up until that point, Nami would continuously reject the help from the Straw Hat crew. She'd again and again say, stop helping me, because she doesn't want them to get involved. She doesn't want them to, you know, get hurt. Luffy always stuck around waiting for that signal from Nami that she needs help. That moment where Nami screams at Luffy saying that she needs help, she desperately needs help. And then Luffy goes and puts his straw hat on her head. And this is one of the things that he treasures the most. He doesn't ever want to lose that. And, you know, if it gets damaged, then he's really upset because it holds such a sentimental value to him. The fact that he put it on Nami's head and basically was like, yep, I'll get this done for you. I will help you. You don't have to worry about a thing. And he knows that he's going to come back to Nami to get the hat. And just like in that moment that he will protect her. Yep, I definitely cried. And it was a very emotional scene. So it would have to be up there in one of my favorite scenes. And then another very iconic scene is definitely the fight between Zoro and Mihawk. It was when you get to see Zoro in action after all this time. He gets pumped up as like some amazing swordsman, master swordsman. And so when he is fighting Mihawk, it was just like it's a very iconic moment. And it kind of sets the scene for what's going to happen in the future. And it really like brings home to Zoro how much he wants to be the best swordsman. The way that he's able to just take slash after slash and he just gets up and keeps going and going and going is a testament to Zoro. And it's where you get to see his like how strong he really is. And it's interesting watching that scene and then knowing Zoro now and seeing like just how far he has come with his fighting abilities and with his sword styles. It's just like, it's enormous. And I'm not even close to being halfway. So I'm interested to see where he ends up. I think another one of my favorite scenes from that saga would have to be when Sanji says goodbye to Chef. The whole scene where all the cooks were basically lying to Sanji, saying that they don't want him in the kitchen anymore. They're trying to kick him out. And then Sanji is obviously like, you're all really bad actors. I know that you're just trying to get me to go, you know, with Luffy and go with the Straw Hat crew. Just them waving goodbye to him and letting him go, it definitely teared me up. Also seeing Sanji from that time to now is just like, because back then I'm just thinking of how I felt when I first was introduced to Sanji, and it was like, yeah, he's cool, he's a cool character, but it kind of, I don't know it didn't annoy me, but he's just constant, you know, being a womanizer and just constantly chasing after women, and it was just like, oh my gosh, just stop, Sanji. But then now I've gotten used to it and I've seen that he is this type of character. And now when he does do all that kind of woman stuff, chasing after all these women, it just doesn't bother me anymore. It's kind of like his quirk. So, and then now it's really funny. Now there's been so many funny parts of him chasing after women that it's like, it's just who he is. I'm trying to think back when I was first watching this saga as to like who was my favorite character or who was becoming my favorite character. Probably would have been Zoro. I think at that point it was Zoro because I found him really funny, and also just like just his fighting ability, and it also is a very good looking character. Let's just get that right out the way. So I did like him. He's probably my favorite character at that point. Yeah, so that's, I guess, the summary of my first thoughts of One Piece and that first saga. Although it was like, it had its very iconic moments and very emotional, very funny moments, it still didn't like really grab me where I was like, I need to go back and I want to watch all these episodes, and it didn't make me want to binge it just yet. And then we move on to Alabasta or Arabasta, which I've seen spelt in a lot of places, but for some reason I call it Alabasta, and I've always thought it was Alabasta. I don't know, you tell me in the comments. Is it Alabasta or is it Arabasta? This saga includes the arcs Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island, and then Alabasta. I'm just going to call it Alabasta, all right? I did really enjoy that first arc with Reverse Mountain, and when they get stopped by Laboon, the massive whale. It was very interesting when there was the man that was just living inside that whale, and also very sad with Laboon just, you know, trying to bump himself in the mountain again and again and again, and he's just waiting for his friends to come back. That was, yeah, it's really whole little boon. And that's when we get introduced to Vivi, which was then known as Miss Wednesday, and she becomes one of the most important characters of that saga. I think where I really felt like the journey had begun was Drum Island, was the whole Drum Island arc. Even just the whole scenery of being in the snow was so like comforting. Like I just wanted to get a nice little hot chocolate and drink that, and also watch it at night, because it was just so cozy. This is when One Piece really started to pick up for me, and it's where I started to watch through the episodes really quickly, and I wanted to keep going back and watching the next episode, what's going to happen, and where they're going to be. And honestly, Chopper is just absolutely adorable. He was just, when he was introduced as a character, he's just like, oh, he's so cool. He's the cutest little thing. And especially, I think one of my favorite things that he does is when he goes to try and hide, and he'll like stick his ass out the other way instead of the right way so that he is hidden. And he does this every single time, and he still does this now when I'm watching it. I'm almost certain he's just going to keep doing it throughout the whole of One Piece, but it cracks me up every single time, because he's precious. I don't want to call him, he's not dumb, because he is a doctor and he's really intelligent, but naive. I think that's the word I was looking for. He's very naive, and he'll believe anything you tell him. I think also because he reminds me of my cat Kai. You've probably seen him a lot in past videos. I don't know where he is at the moment. Oh, he's outside, he's enjoying the sun. Yeah, I won't go grab him because I don't want to disturb him sleeping. But he definitely reminds me of Kai. Also, Chopper's backstory was just absolutely heartbreaking, and it still reflects the real world in a lot of ways. You want to believe that stuff is just fiction and it is just in One Piece, but that sort of stuff happens all the time. People are outcasted for being different. It really sucked seeing Chopper like that. But when he met Hiruluk and they became really close, and then he found solace in this doctor, that was a really, really special moment. But then when he passes away and you just see Chopper, like, I don't even want to think back to that moment because it was really sad. But he then finds, Kuroha, and they then bond, and he learns a lot from this new doctor. That was also really special. The whole arc I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I really loved the feel of it. I love the world and the world building at this point. It reminded me of the North Pole, and I've always wanted to visit places like Lapland to see all of the amazing Christmas lights and to really get immersed in the whole feel of Christmas. That would be one of my biggest dreams. Then traveling all the way to Alabasta, where it is just full on desert, full on sun. It was a massive contrast. It was like this is an absolute new journey and new adventure that we're going on. And this is where we meet one of the warlords, Crocodile. Crocodile is a pretty cool villain. Just being able to have those massive pet crocodiles is pretty cool. This, though, is where we get introduced to Robin, which I have also discussed quite a bit in my card opening videos, where she's my favorite character, and she still is my favorite character. My favorite part, I think, of the saga would have to be when Robin found the poneglyph that she's been after for so long. And it wasn't what she was expecting, and it kind of led to a dead end, because she had been working her way up, being with Crocodile, being partner of Crocodile, trying to work her way to get to this poneglyph, and it just wasn't what she was expecting. And so that was it for her. She was like, there's no more poneglyphs, this is going to be it. And then at that point she just wanted to die, and the whole cave was just collapsing. And then Luffy refused to let her die and saved her from that cave. I just think that was a really nice pivotal moment, actually, between Robin and Luffy and their relationship in the Straw Hat Crew. Because as we know, he will go on to save her again. But yeah, as a whole, it was a good saga. I got really into it. The saga as a whole was very entertaining, and I did enjoy it. No massive parts really stood out to me from that, personally. After Alabasta, they start their journey to a completely new world that is nowhere close to where they have been before, in Skypiea, which is in the sky, as the name of the place suggests, in the clouds. This just includes the 2 arcs, Jaya Island and then Skypiea. Jaya was pretty cool. I think the start of this whole saga really got me interested because it starts out as a puzzle. They're trying to find the island in the sky. They're trying to figure out all these puzzles as to how to get there. And the Jaya arc is when they work with Mont Blanc cricket. And then these 2 other characters that are monkeys that I just cannot for life of me remember their names. But they work with them to try and figure out how to get to this island in the sky. And we get a bit of the backstory as to why Mont Blanc cricket is so invested in this Jaya Island and what he's trying to find, this treasure, the city of gold. He's on his search for that because of, this whole past history with his ancestors. So that's where we kind of get the backstory that will definitely be useful later on. And then obviously getting to Skypiea itself was awesome. The fact that they're in the sky is just, every single time that I was watching it, I realized, oh yeah, they're in the sky, because you often forget. Well, I often forgot. My favorite part of this would have to be Robin going full archaeologist mode, trying to figure out the puzzle of this random Earth that's just formed in the sky. And she's going through, searching this whole island, figuring out all of I think there was some hieroglyphics that she was trying to work out. And because I've studied archaeology before, I grew up wanting to be an archaeologist, and then I kind of just diverted into a different path. That sort of history has really, really interested me throughout my whole life. And so seeing her go full archaeologist mode, I think that is when I realized, you know what? She's my favorite character. I really, really like her as a character. And then she just proved again and again why she is definitely my favorite character. Going back to that, I really enjoyed the whole historical side of Skypiea and the way that it was drawn on, the Aztecs. It kind of had that inspiration of the Aztecs and the myth of the lost city of gold. That was really cool because that's just something that's I've always found really interesting. Enel himself also was just a really awesome villain, and he's probably, for me so far, been one of the best villains. I think the fact that he has that lightning devil fruit power is just made him a very, very powerful entity. And he was just a very brooding, powerful, all-encompassing character. The fact that it draws parallels also to Raijin, the thunder god in Japan, really, really added to his character design and made him that powerful. And that was just a really cool touch in Skypiea. I did recently post a video of the Enel statue from Jamae Palace. It is a sick statue. It is an awesome statue. So make sure to go check it out if you haven't already. And that leads us to Water 7, which I'm going to leave to a part 2 video because there's a lot to discuss in that video and I don't want this video to be too long. I feel like there's just so much more that I didn't say in this video about those sagas because so much happens. There's so many episodes, so much happens in every single episode that it's really difficult to bring all those thoughts together. So I just wanted to make it a bit more of my initial thoughts and my initial feelings of One Piece. Those initial few sagas have really made me come to appreciate and really enjoy One Piece and get hooked on One Piece. So I'm super excited to make the next video about Water 7 and Enies Lobby because that's kind of where it fully heats up for me. And that's it. I hope that you all enjoyed listening to me talk about One Piece because I love talking about One Piece. And I'd love to hear your favorite moments, favorite characters in those first few sagas if you have any. So please make sure to drop a comment below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.